the world, how we know it, is falling apart right in this moment. How could this weird situation uh, impact us in the future as humanity? Today, I would like to talk about all this with Caroline Ryan. She is talking for a long time about creating a new heart-led humanity. She's talking about sacred feminine women warrior. She is a real leader and influencer from the heart. So let's see this situation with your eyes, Caroline. Hi,
Hi,
welcome.
thank you, Slavomira. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. So what do you think about all this social distancing and all this technology we are using instead of real personal contact one to one? How, what an impact could it have on our evolution as a humanity?
Well, it's a challenging. It's very difficult, isn't it, to describe what everybody's experiencing at the moment. It's almost like we've all gone into total grief, shock, overwhelm, because one day we woke up and the world had just turned upside down. So I think that there are always two ways to look at things, aren't there? We can either look at it as something that's been taken away from us, or an opportunity to look at how we can use this great pause, this moment in time where everything seems to have, the reality that we know has been taken away. How can we use this to work for us? And as you said, it's about social distancing, it's about technology, and it's also about the phoenix. So most of us will know what the phoenix is all about. It's this magical bird that comes in and destroys everything, takes everything away, so we can make conscious choices about what we want to replace it with. So the bird then resurrects from the ashes. And we are all here at this witnessing this amazing moment that traumatizes us for sure and hits us here in the heart. But we now have the chance to work with the heart and say, what do we want to recreate in the place of our previous paradigm that I think, if not everyone, pretty much everyone would have thought we are already living in a mad world where our priorities have got completely out of whack. And we're living very much from our head. We're living very much from what can we acquire? What can we do? What can we logically do to assure our future and our security? And on the way to honouring the logic, we've been completely disconnected from our feelings and our emotions and what's really important to us. So yes, what you're talking about is this great pause, this great wave, this tidal wave that's washed away the life as we know it in an instant, is giving us that opportunity to say, what is really important to us? If we're moving forward, and in this great pause, we're all being immobilized and isolated, and that gives us the opportunity to reflect the things that we wouldn't normally do in our previous mad, busy world, because we're so occupied 24/7 with technology. Technology had taken us over. Technology was actually initially introduced, depending on which side of the coin you're looking from, to serve us. So it worked for us. We could harness it and it would give us an easier life. But what happened is it took us over. It owned us. It was operating us 24/7. We became addicted, and therefore we didn't have a chance to self-reflect. So here we are. We've got this wonderful opportunity to really back technology and say, how do we make it work for us? How do we use it to connect to one another in a way that has meaning for us rather than enslaves us and calls us with all the dings and the noises that it makes? And we reach for our phone and go, oh, what's happened now? So in that way, we have a choice. The social distancing that you mentioned, again, is a choice. Do we allow it to take over our connection to one another? Do we allow it to stand between us and one another? Because potentially it could. It's like everything that ever happens, we have a choice of how we perceive it, how we use it, and how we take it forward. So, Slavomira, I know with all the work that you do, you interview lots of people about what are the opportunities here and how do we use situations that are occurring to us to work for us, and what's a different way of perceiving them. For me, my focus as what I like to consider myself to be a sacred feminine woman warrior, creating part of the heart-led humanity revolution that's occurring on the earth, is how can we work with this situation to turn it in our favor, to allow this great pause, this great moment of reflection, isolation, to look at how we can reconnect with what's really important to us individually and collectively as a society, and flip the paradigm so we forget about using the head as our total arbiter, our total decider of what we do, and just go first to the heart. So any decision, we go first to the heart and ask ourselves, how do we feel about this? How does this align with what's important to us? And then, only then, do we go to the head and say, okay, head, what's your contribution? But first and foremost, I'm listening to this.
Yes, that's very nice. That's so important. And what do you think about? So, do you have some practical advices what we can do, how we can proceed, and how we can use this technology in the right way? Because, you know, if now it's like people are dangerous and it's safe only to contact with people through this display or something. What do you think about this? How we can, I don't know, handle this situation and take some advantage or take it in positive way?
I think it's a challenging situation, and it's a great question to ask. And I don't know that, I think the first thing that really is important to be aware of is that it has the potential to create fear. So it has the potential to distance us from one another, because I don't know about you, but I don't know how many queues I stood in waiting for food, because we can only go out for the essentials, where, you know, you may have got a bit too close to somebody and they stand back as if there's an electric shock, you know, don't come too close. I think we need to have the awareness that if this continues for any length of time, or if it's repeated, so we're allowed to go back to a relatively normal life, to resume our lives, to go back to work with, to be with our families and friends again, and then they say, oops, another outbreak of pandemic has occurred, and we go back into this stay away, it has the potential to affect the human psyche so that we become conditioned to fear one another. And I think we need to have that in our awareness. And who is this fear serving? Does it serve us as individuals? Does it serve us as a community, local communities, people you know in our families? Does it serve us as a society? Well, clearly not, because humanity was created to come together in community. The more connected we are, the more powerful we are, the more healthy we are. There is so much scientific research that shows when people come together in community, our health flourishes. We flourish on human touch. The newborn baby that is immediately placed on the mother's breast immediately gets not just the hormones from the mother through the milk, but also the energy, the auric field, the energetic frequencies of the mother to bond. We thrive on the human touch. We were made to thrive on hugging one another, being close to one another. So within families, within relationships, that closeness, and within slightly broader communities, just to be with people, to laugh with people, to exchange thoughts, to be in one another's energetic fields. We thrive on that closeness. So we need to be very aware that there is, let's say, a bigger agenda to take us into a technological society, which is called the Fourth Industrial Revolution, where technology is the driver of what happens in society versus humanity deciding how technology works for us. So everybody connects to one another through a device, isolated at home, versus coming together as communities as we've known up until this time to support one another. So I think as part of this great pause, as part of this time of reflection, I think we all need to consider, go beyond our fear and say, what do we want for the future of humanity? Do we want humans to continue to be able to come together, to trust one another, to understand we have immune systems for a reason? And it's not about isolation that will develop our health and our strength of humanity. It will be about understanding about natural health, developing our immune systems. What is healthy food? What is healthy living? How do we support and grow that possibility for ourselves and one another so that we can strengthen community, strengthen immune system, strengthen the immune system of the community, physiologically and metaphorically. So we depend on one another, not fear. And at the moment we're being taken, and I think most people are somewhat suspicious of all the dramatic actions taken by global governments. It's beyond proportionate. People, even when I stand in supermarket queues waiting to go into the supermarket, people talk to me and they say, I don't understand it, it makes no sense. How can governments respond in this way? How can they crash our societies, our economies, when we don't see the official death rates going up? So if you look online to find the official death rates of different countries, they're not increasing in any great substance from other previous years. So why are we being bombarded with this fear and being isolated and put under essentially house arrest and martial law in an attempt to protect us? Why not protect just the elderly who are at risk? Why take all this drastic action that then just affects everybody and will destroy our economies for a generation to come? Everybody is now thinking this makes no sense. Why is our government not protecting us with helping us develop our immune systems with natural health remedies or vitamins versus telling us we need to be shut down for 18 months until a vaccine is discovered? Given that our ability to test for this virus is incredibly flawed, therefore the infection rates cannot be assessed accurately. Therefore, we cannot develop a vaccine if we haven't identified and are able to therefore assess infection rates. None of it makes sense. So I think as a society, we need to start questioning the information that we're being given, ask if what is happening is undermining humanity or taking us down a route that makes us more dependent on technology, fearful of one another, and takes our power away as individuals and as a group, as a community, as a society, to do what is natural for us, to come together in the open air, to develop our healthy foods, to connect with one another, to connect to the heart versus being told what is fearful and taken into the head. Because we all know when we're fearful, we surrender, we don't think well. We don't critically analyze and observe what's happening around us because we're bombarded with fear and we're paralyzed. So I think now this great phoenix moment, this great pause is a wonderful time for us all to think about, what do we want for our own futures? What's important to us? And I think most of us are recognizing that it's family, personal connections, community, good health. How do we achieve that? Is the solutions, or are the solutions that are being offered to us, isolation, solely connecting through technology, taking synthetic solutions like pharmacological and vaccine solutions as the future for humanity? Is that really the way and the future that we choose? So what I would ask your audience to consider is, what is really important here? What are the choices that we will make as individuals, as families, as communities, and as a society at large, for where we want humanity to go? And humanity is through this.
Yes. So we can take this time as a big opportunity to think about, not about like this current fear and panic and everything, but how we would like to live in the future.
Yes.
Could this be our future from now? Is this what we want?
Yes.
No, and think about how we really would like to live and what we can do after we will be let out again, what we can do to protect us or to prevent repeating of this weird situation.
Absolutely. For me, it's about taking back our humanity and taking back our sovereignty, because as a race, as humans evolving on our planet, we are literally at a pivotal crossroad. And the direction that we go in depends on how we respond to what's occurring at the moment. And I use the word respond specifically, that's not the word I'm looking for, but I can't think of the word, consciously, because at the moment we're reacting with fear. We're doing a knee-jerk, primordial human response of, oh, something's happened, I must do something. We want to, as human beings, we spring into human doingness. Let me do something about this. I need to do something. I need to take back control, rather than reflect and think about, what is it, and feel, what is it that as a race we want to respond to, be responsible, able to respond with responsibility towards. And that takes time to have clarity, and this pause will give us that time. Therefore, I believe we all should come together and consider what we want. Very simple.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, and maybe take our own responsibility, like personal responsibility, and not just to wait that government save us or something like that. It's
absolutely. We elect governments. They should be responsive to our choices, not be directing us towards the direction that they clearly have in mind for us. They should be listening to the voice of the people that elect them. But we need to let them know what our voices are, and we need to be clear on what our voices stand for. And I think that we all are gaining clarity now, but we need to share that with our representatives so that they know, and we take back that responsibility and ownership in telling them what we want them to do on our behalf, versus waiting for them to make that decision for us.
Thank you very much for your side of view. I think it was really like useful or wise to see this situation in from another point of view. Is there something what would you like to share with people at the end of our interview?
I would just like to remind people that they have the power. It comes from the heart. It comes from evaluating what is really important to you, to your family, to your community, And the only way that we will ever identify what is really important to us is taking this time to reflect and feel versus think. Connect to our emotions and what we hold most dear, and then act on that. Don't just sit there and feel it all the time. It's time for us to stand up and take our feelings and our voice forward and share that with others, and especially those who represent us, so that they get to act on what is important for us. Thank you, Slavomira. I really enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you for the time for me giving me, I can't speak now. Fortunately, that hadn't happened before. Thank you for giving me the time to share my thoughts with you.
Thank you. Thank you all for watching.